This is an interesting story that we've heard about today of Simeon and Anna. I, first of all, in hearing this story again, had this incredible vision of my first time in Jerusalem. I was an individual, a minister of many years, who I actually had no interest in going to Israel. And all of a sudden, Reverend Neil Young, before Christmas several years ago, said, "Why don't you come with me? Someone's had to back out. Would you come in January?" And Reverend Bruce knows this from Dublin, because I was trying to get Bruce to maybe consider going at that moment, being a little last minute. And I was just post 50. It's kind of like I didn't seem to have any fears anymore about going, and I went. And to this day, I still can see the temple. And here, 40 days, as the Mosaic tradition taught, Jesus is brought to that temple. And in that time, I just imagine, like, the temple is just so huge, it's so beautiful, it's also so overwhelming as well. And this Sunday, I'm looking at the guidepost number 5 of Brené Brown's book, The Gifts of Imperfections. And she says that the most difficult challenge sometimes in her life is to give up the need to be certain and to be, 100% right. In fact, she says that when things go upside down in her life and she feels that things are uncertain, she actually has a physical feeling inside, like she physically feels almost sick not to be in control. So this gift of letting go of certainty is a big one for her. And I really appreciate her honesty about that. Christmas Eve here, Gayla knows this well. I came to to her office. It was 4:30 or 4:40, and I went to her. She's working on getting ready for the kids some starlights, and I said, "There's 2 kids there tonight. I think this is the Christmas Eve that, I just think everyone's busy." She smiled and she just kept working away. And sure enough, may I remember this, 5 minutes to 5, there's like 50 kids all of a sudden just arrived. And when I went to the back to say, who would like to play Mary this year, I had 5 Marys. I'm like going, geez, about 20 minutes ago I said there was nobody coming. But my daughter's friend, partner, came with her to church this year, first time in quite a while. He's not a churchgoer. We're going home, and he says to, kind of in an uncertain but a kind gesture, like Christmas story, a Virgin Mary. It's kind of an odd little story and a bunch of animals. And I heard very clearly in his questioning, what are we all doing up there at Christmas Eve as we gather around this manger? And so I asked myself all through Christmas, what is the message that we are hoping to give each other at Christmas? I remember meeting with colleagues before our special group we gather in. One of my Baptist friends, colleagues, said to me, well, one thing I know is if you take Silent Night and you put it at the beginning of the service instead of the end of the service, at least in my church, like all hell breaks loose. Silent Night has to be at the end. And we all laughed about all these emotional connections that we have with this Christmas story. What we know about Anna and Simeon is this. Simeon has been waiting his life for the Messiah to come. And now that this child has arrived, and this is the one, he's ready to die. Anna, who some suggest she might be the prophetess of her time, at 84 years of age, the biblical thought is that she isn't ready to die. She's ready to tell the good news that redemption has come for the world and that hope has arrived. So there you got Simeon ready to die. I can die now. The Messiah's come. And you got Anna. I'm ready to share the good news. We live in a world of great ambiguity at times and perplexion. I want to read for you something that Brené Brown offered from this Guidepost 5 that I really loved. She says that she's discovered that it's not always scientists who struggle with faith. In fact, it's actually a lot of religious people. Many forms of fundamentalism and extremism about choosing certainty over faith dominate many of the fundamentalist movements of today. And then the great theologian Richard Rohr says, and she quotes him, "You know, my scientist friends, they've come up with things like principles of uncertainty, dark holes. They're willing to live inside imagined hypotheses and theories. But many religious folks, they think there's only one way. There's only one truth. How strange to think the word of faith has come to mean the very opposite." A few days before Christmas, I had the real pleasure to meet with the new minister at Park Minster, Waterloo, Reverend Joe, and I went over to Emmanuel United, Waterloo again, Reverend Jen. We in Guelph, maybe, unless we maybe read the KW Record or catch the news, they have been sadly targeted for their affirming acceptance of the LGBTQ community, and written upon the stonework out at Emmanuel United in downtown Waterloo, "Keep this place holy." It has a Romans passage. It is a fundamentalist message, and the same has happened over at Park Minster in Waterloo. I wanted to greet them. We just wanted to let them know that the word had got to us here in Guelph, and they said to me that they've been overwhelmed with the support and care, not just from the United Church, but from other denominations from the city wide. And I thought about that in terms of those who are certain that their particular understanding of biblical teaching, their certain way, is the way and the only way. That if you don't speak about Jesus in the way they understand Jesus, or the way they judge people who are pro-choice, or they judge people who happen to embrace affirming all people as God's children, how frightening and scary that is to think. We sometimes think that that's perhaps just something in the southern United States. But the truth of the matter is it's quite close to home. Letting go of certainty. My kids have been a real gift to me over the holidays, and I'd like to share with you the gift of uncertainty they gave me. And in fact, I actually think Galen suggested this to me. It's funny, Galen has a wise way about herself. She told me about something on Netflix, and I think you told me about This Is Us. And I went, oh yeah, this is, I don't have time for net. Well, when you're with your kids. So I've been watching This Is Us. And to give you a brief synopsis of This Is Us, it is an unbelievable story of families, like every family, that struggles with unbelievable challenges. There are moments in this series, I think I've watched about 7 now, I don't know if there's 10 a year, but there's minutes you're watching This Is Us, and the father who has 3 children, 1 minute seems like maybe the worst dad in the world, and then the next episode you realize he's maybe the best father you've ever encountered in your life. Or the grandfather in this movie, who's been he's been an addict, a drug user. 1 minute in the movie you're thinking, oh my God, he's wasted his life away. And then the next minute you think I have just understood what the meaning of love is all about. It is an incredible testimony to creators and writers of this day that can take the human lives of everyday people and put it on the screen. I said to my daughters, I said, what is it about This Is Us that makes you want to keep watching it? And I want us all to hear this because I think this is the message of Christmas. And they said to me, Dad, it's refreshing to watch something that is human. Is human. And so I close with this. We're on the knocking on the door of the new year.
Knock, knock.
Knock, knock, right, Kendra? And, I like to be certain. I like to be right. I don't know if Anna and Simeon, maybe they thought they were pretty certain that the Messiah had come. But they had absolutely no idea. Jesus 12 years later would finally come back to that temple, and the story of his life would begin to unfold. They had no idea what this Jesus surely was all about, but they had a hope and an expectation. So as you go into this new year, not sure what you're imagining or you're hoping for this new year, but might I give you just a little hint of where I'm at right now, is I'm hoping to let go of certainty, even in the little ways it lives out in my life, and how just letting go, not worrying so much about whether we get 2 kids or 50 kids Christmas Eve, that's for sure, and trusting that being human and being real with your doubts and your uncertainties and your worries is the most important thing I need to be about this day and every day. My dear friend whose wife is battling pancreatic cancer, he says it so well. John says to me, I guess we should be getting about the business of living like this is like the last day. And then he looks at me with a smile, but I guess that's the way we should all be living, whether or not my wife's going to be here 6 months from now or weeks from now. We all need to get about loving ourselves and loving each other in this world that so desperately needs that human love that came in Jesus.